Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a fun show lined up for you. We're going to answer the question, are the Florida Gators a little bit afraid of the Vols? Because I'm kind of thinking they are, but we're going to go into it, and I'm going to show you a couple things that you might find interesting. All right. I know the Florida fans out there, they're going to watch this and they're going to get all upset and tore up about it.
Again.
I know. It'll be okay. You're going through some tough times right now. I get it. We've been there too. Now, I mean, we're not there now, but I mean, we were there a while back, several years ago. And I know you've had 2 losing seasons in a row. I get it. I get it. We know what that feels like. 2 years ago, we were 3-7. And we had Jeremy Pruitt as our coach. So we know your pain and we can feel it. But we're going to get into this because I'm kind of thinking maybe the Florida Gators, they're a little bit afraid of the Vols. And I'll show you 2 examples of why I think that's the case. Now I'm going to show you this prediction by Allie Peak of Peak into the Gators. And I will attach a link to this video in the description. She asked me to do that if I ever show any of her videos. She was actually really cool about it because I've, had her videos on mine a few times and had some fun at the Florida Gators' expense. So anyway, she understands smack talk. But anyway, let's get into what she has to say about the Tennessee game.
But game 3, now this one is a doozy. Florida will play Tennessee in the Swamp Saturday night, September 16th. It's going to be hot. It's going to be sticky. The crowd's going to be wild because Florida's going to be 2-0 headed into that game. And it's going to be a bloodbath. It's going to be such a tough game. Let's talk about Tennessee's strengths a little bit. Wide receiver.
I totally agree with that, by the way. I think this is going to be a rough game. It's going to be at 7 o'clock at night at the Swamp, which is, we've had no luck there. So I think she's dead on when it comes to that prognostication.
Offensive scheme. We have seen what Tennessee had put together last season. Tennessee was really on a roll last season until Hendon Hooker went down with his ACL injury. Milton did a decent job filling in for him, particularly in the bowl game. I think that gave Tennessee fans some real hope that the future is bright for them. So whether or not Milton puts on any sort of performance like Hooker did the season before will probably play a large role in not only this game, but Tennessee's season moving forward. But Tennessee's offense is definitely a strength of theirs. But let's talk about their weaknesses. Defense. They were 91st in total defense last season. Josh Heupel has been recruiting pretty darn well for Tennessee, but they don't yet have that defensive depth that you need to compete year in and year out in the SEC. So now will Florida be able to exploit that? Okay. I think that if we're going on strength for strength, weakness for weakness, last year, Florida's offense was a strength, and that would be going against Tennessee's defense, which is a weakness, and then vice versa for offense and defense. But we have been told, we have seen, we have heard that Florida's defense has really taken a step in the right direction. So Florida's defense is a lot better. That's going to bode really, really well for this game. Let's talk about the X factor. I've already mentioned his name once, Joe Milton. No one is really sure what Joe Milton is going to be at quarterback for Tennessee this year. He played at Michigan prior to transferring to Tennessee, and he was not good there. He struggled with accuracy, but then we have that small sample size of the 2022 season where he took over for Hendon Hooker, and he looked much improved, particularly if you watch that bowl game. I think Vol fans were very excited about what Milton was able to do on the field. So the extent to which he's developed under Josh Heupel will really determine how good of a team Tennessee can be this year. All right, guys, I have this down as a win. I'm 50% confident. That means that this game's up.
50% confident. Now, at least she went ahead and said it's going to be a win for Florida. I will give her that. But she's at 50% at the Swamp where they've won the last 10 times at night. So they're worried. Extremely worried because the Swamp is a huge advantage, and she's at 50-50. She's just saying it's a win because she's talking to the Gators. But there's no confidence in that at all. I'm saying we're going to win, and I'm well over 50%.
Pretty close to a coin flip here, but I think that the swamp will be an X factor for the Gators. I think this team will come in riding the high of beating Utah. So listen, I've got us 3-0.
All right, so that was pretty interesting. She went out on a limb a little tiny bit, about that far out there, but not very far. Pretty much she thinks it's a toss-up. So that's some concern. I doubt they'll be 3-0. They'll be lucky if they're 2-1. They may be 1-2. We'll find that out Thursday. But here's another Florida YouTuber. Let's see how confident he is. And this is High Top Sports, and I'll also put a link to that video that I'm getting ready to show in the description as well, just like I did for Alley Peak.
There. Now, for the this game here, the Florida game, to be fair, because I want people to realize like that I'm not trying to stir any shit up, I'm just going to put a toss-up. Because I'm not going to sit here and like, it would be ridiculous. I'm not going to sit here and pick. I'm just not going to. Okay? So I'm not going to waste my time. I'm going to put a toss-up. I saw.
Now, does that sound confident to you? At the Swamp at 7 o'clock at night, and he's just going to go with a toss-up. Now, he's saying he's trying to be neutral, and I get that, but you've got to pick. You're a Florida Gator YouTuber. You got to pick the Gators. I mean, come on.
Oh, come on! I saw a few people were doing that, and I go, you know what? That's fair. I like that because sometimes it's hard, right? Sometimes it's hard to make a decision. So next team is UTS Southern.
All right, I like that. I like that they're both either at a toss-up or a 50-50. I'm at about 2/3. I think there's a 2/3 chance we win that game. I think we'll be favored by a touchdown. I think that we have an advantage, certainly, when it comes to our offense. They're going out with a mediocre quarterback in Graham Mertz. We've got a guy that's shown himself to be very strong at times. Certainly he was in that Orange Bowl game where he was the MVP. So he's coming off a strong performance. Going into the game, he'll have probably had 2 real nice performances. And I'm just not convinced on Graham Mertz. Now he'll probably have the game of his career against us because all Florida quarterbacks do. They usually have their Heisman moment when they play the Vols. It's just kind of the way that it is. But I think we're going to win this ball game. I just do. I think our defense is going to be much improved. Our depth is much better than last year, especially in the secondary. We don't have to rely on just one guy at each position. We do have some depth. Our defensive line will be strong again. Our linebacker crew will be better than it was last year. And the offense, it'll just be up to how Joe plays, but our offense is going to be fast. We are loaded at wide receiver. We are loaded at running back. And I think you're going to see Joe Milton run. I really do. In that Florida game, I think you're going to see him become a dual threat quarterback and put a hurting on the Gators. Now, they're going to play with their hair on fire. I'll just go ahead and tell you, whether they win that Utah game or not, it will not matter on that Saturday night. They're going to come out like psychopaths to play against us. And that crowd, you might have a little earthquake down there in Florida. That's how loud that place can get, which makes it even more exciting. And if we beat them at 7 o'clock at night, that will be so sweet. Oh, my gosh. To get that monkey completely off our back, we got it off our back last year by beating them up at Neyland. But to beat them at the Swamp, that would be special. And it would really get us rolling into the season because we'll come off of that, play UTSA at Neyland, and then we'll play South Carolina, and we get that revenge game, the one game that really irritated us so much last year. If we can start out 5-0, that'll be glorious, and that'll be perfect. It'll be very reminiscent of last year when we started out 8-0, and we're number 1 in the country. So anyway, I did want to answer that question on the Gators afraid of the Vols. I kind of think they are. When you're going 50-50 and toss-up, might be a little fear right there. They don't sound confident at all, and I feel real good about our opportunity. If we lose, look, could we lose at the Swamp? Absolutely. We've lost the last 10 times. But with this offense, Josh Heupel in charge, and the momentum that we've got, I just feel great about it. It's going to be one of the best games of the year, and there will be 8 to 10 million people watch this game, at least. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's be able to continue to cover the Vols, the SEC, all our opponents, and all that smack talk that I like to cover. If you've not subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit that little button. I would appreciate it. And right over here is the most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll love. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.